All right, here's what we know about Jake DeBrusk. He was injured during the Winter Classic. He was wearing a walking boot on his left foot, and he's not with the team as they begin a 3-game California road trip in Los Angeles tonight. Going to bring you the update on DeBrusk's injury, what it means for the Bruins, and also do our weekly cup check here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. So please do smash that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. Today's podcast is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before at BetOnline, where the game starts. Quick reminder, you can find the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. I'm getting close to that elusive 10K mark, and we're nearing 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So hit follow and subscribe on both of those today. All right, so the Bruins released an update last night confirming that Jake DeBrusk is not on the 3-game road trip that begins tonight in Los Angeles. He was injured in the 2-1 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins on Monday during the Winter Classic, during which he scored both of the team's third-period goals. Head coach Jim Montgomery said they'll have more detailed update today, but word is he has a fractured fibula, and it's an injury that could require 4, 6, possibly even 8-week recovery time. There was also a report yesterday that Chris Wagner was being recalled to join the team in Los Angeles. A quick check of the AHL transactions page reveals that there has been no official call-up as of yet, but Mark Diver, who's very plugged in with the Providence Bruins, reporting that he was going to be heading to LA last night. Now, DeBrusk appeared to be injured prior to scoring his first goal around the 8-minute mark of the third period when he was hit by a Matt Grzelcyk slap shot on the left skate. Side note, happy birthday, Matt Grzelcyk. Seconds later, he tied the game and then scored with 2 minutes and 24 seconds remaining to secure the victory, scoring those 2 goals with a fractured fibula. That's pretty wild, and shows you how tough hockey players are. Also shows you if you have your skate on and you injure your foot, you don't feel it as much until you take the skate off, where you see the swelling and all the bruising and such. Montgomery said he didn't even know Jake was hurt at all. He saw him wince when he took the shot, but he scored right after. He was used in the last minute of play to defend the lead. He was trying to get him the hat trick on the empty netter. Didn't have any issue or think anything was wrong with him. He added his comments after the game where he complimented DeBrusk for his toughness were in reference to his overall performance and not the injury specifically. He had no awareness that he may be injured after the game, immediately after the game. He was talking more about not so much physical toughness, but the mental toughness that he has, which is significant considering the struggles he had during COVID-19 and the mental toll that it took on him. We all know this. He was open about it. He plays with 2 superstars in Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron, both elite players in the league. He's hanging with them, contributing on that line. And Montgomery added he has the ability to inject humor when he knows it's time to dig in, which he appreciates. Now, losing DeBrusk, no doubt a huge blow for the Bruins, as he's been putting up the best season of his 6-year career with 30 points through 36 games, 16 goals as well. So without DeBrusk on the top line, the immediate plan is to shift David Pastrnak up with Marchand and Bergeron, a reunification of the so-called perfection line. Meanwhile, on the second line, Pavel Zacha will flip to his offside and skate with Taylor Hall and David Krejci. So that's how things look. In the bottom six, you have Nick Foligno, Charlie Coyle, Trent Frederick, and then AJ Greer, Thomas Nosek, and Craig Smith. Chris Wagner, like I said, will join the team as the extra skater and perhaps get into one of these games in California. Now, also keep in mind there are other options they could call up once the team returns home. There's Mark McLaughlin, who impressed in training camp, Oscar Steen, Jacob Lauko, or perhaps even Fabian Lysell, who will compete today against Team USA for a bronze medal at the World Junior Championship, yet to record a point at the tournament. However, not the most inspiring of performances so far for Lysell. Now, of course, if DeBrusk were to be out for up to 8 weeks, that would take the Bruins beyond the trade deadline. If he is put on LTIR, that would free up some space for the Bruins to make an addition. They would, of course, have to deal with that later on when DeBrusk is healthy. Anything they add has to be accounted for down the road. I had suggested, Jacob Vrana was on waivers yesterday. They could have made a claim for him. He cleared waivers and was assigned to Grand Rapids. I know he has injury history, personal issues, but the Bruins, of course, not reluctant to bring someone into the organization who is in recovery. You just have to look behind the bench. That ship may have sailed unless Detroit's willing to make a trade, but the Bruins could have some flexibility if Jake DeBrusk is placed on long-term injured reserve, and we'll keep an eye on that here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. The Bruins have yet to confirm it's a fractured fibula, but all signs seem to be pointing to that. All reports indicate that is indeed the injury. The Bruins are in LA to take on the Kings. We will preview that game later on in the podcast. Coming up after the break, we're going to do our weekly cup check, where we look at the top 5 teams around the NHL and assess where the Bruins rank among them. But first, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. It's your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every pro and amateur league out there, from the NFL to college bowl season, the NHL, and the NBA. You can find it all at BetOnline. If you love sports podcasts, you can find even more of those at BetOnline as well. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Just head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day. Make sure you check out the Locked On NHL Prospects podcast next. Daily show covering the next generation of hockey superstars. There'll be quite a bit, of course, on the World Juniors, which wraps up today. Canada taking on the Czech Republic in the gold medal game. Sweden and USA going for bronze. Locked On NHL Prospects, available on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. All right, every Thursday on Locked On Bruins, I do the weekly cup check, where we take a look at the top 5 teams around the NHL and assess where the Bruins rank among them. Let's start at number 5, where the New Jersey Devils, after a win last night over the Detroit Red Wings, are back in the top 5. They're actually 6th in total points, but they've played 2 fewer games than the Dallas Stars and have a .671 point percentage, and they have the league's second best goal differential at +31. They are 3-6-1 over their last 10 overall, but still worthy of a top 5 this week. In fact, 4 of the top 5 teams come from the Eastern Conference. The lone Western Conference team this week is Bruce Cassidy's Vegas Golden Knights. They're 26-12-2, .675 point percentage, +21 goal differential, which isn't super impressive. In fact, it's, I think, 8th best in the NHL, tied with the Buffalo Sabres, actually. But good enough for top spot in the Western Conference, points-wise and point percentage-wise. The Dallas Stars, however, deserve an honorable mention. They're 5th with 52 points, and they have a +30 goal differential, which is tied for 3rd with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Speaking of 3rd place, that's where the Maple Leafs sit this week. They're 23-8-7, 53 points, 9 back of Boston with 1 more game played, .697 point percentage, and a +30 goal differential. If it weren't for Boston, they would be the team to beat in the Atlantic, possibly the Eastern Conference as well, although Carolina would have something to say about that. They're fresh off a huge win streak. They did just lose their last game and are 25-7-6 on the season. 6 points back of Boston with 1 more game played. .737 goal differential. 737 point percentage and a +22 goal differential. Still this week, by all metrics, Boston remains your number 1 team. They're 7-0-3 in their last 10. So without a regulation loss over their past 10 games. They still haven't lost in regulation on home ice, 19-0-3. And they have a very good record on the road as well, 10-4-1. .838 point percentage. And what's most impressive about this team is their goal differential, +57. They have scored the second highest amount of goals in the NHL this season, 140, behind only the Buffalo Sabres. And they've allowed only 83 goals, which is maybe even more impressive. Winnipeg is at the second fewest goals allowed with 97. That's 14 more than the Bruins. So this team continues to motor. Yes, they're going to have a challenge with losing Jake DeBrusk, but think about this for a second. You lose your top line right winger, and you can put David Pastrnak up there as a replacement, quote unquote. It's insane. The depth that they have right now helps mitigate the loss of Jake DeBrusk. It could prompt an addition to the forward group, definitely prompting a recall. But the fact that you can just slot David Pastrnak to the top line and still have a pretty good top 6 with Hall, Krejci, Zacha. We'll see how he does on the offside there. Perhaps they may need to tinker with some things. Hall, Krejci, Lysell perhaps would be pretty nice. But again, second best goals per game, 3.73, and they have 2.16 goals allowed per game. New Jersey second at 2.55, tied with the Winnipeg Jets. Their power play is ranked 6th. It's kind of slipped in recent weeks, but the penalty kill is still up there at number 1 spot, 85% success rate. So the Bruins right now, weekly cup check, they are the team to beat when it comes to the Stanley Cup in 2023. What a statement that is. And it's not even really debatable right now. You can't say, oh, Carolina had that multi-game win streak and they're still 6 points back of the Boston Bruins. Boston's body of work this season puts them apart from the competition, and they're the team to beat in the NHL here this season. All right, coming up after the break, we're going to discuss tonight's game against the Los Angeles Kings. But first, a word from our old friends at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all of the fat and calories, then you have to try Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little bit healthier in 2023. If you're like me and you want to eat healthier, but you don't want to compromise taste, then I've got just the thing for you. You have to try Built Bar. With Built, health is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't think they're good for you. They're perfect for your New Year's resolutions. Well, what makes them so good? For starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. They come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how they do it, but they taste like a candy bar while maintaining some healthy macros. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 17 grams of protein. You don't need to wait around to get a box either. You can still order them at built.com, but now you can get Built Bars at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in, grab a 13-bar box, and you can thank me later. All right, the Bruins are in sunny Los Angeles, California, to take on the Kings tonight, 10:30 p.m. start. Whoo, that's going to be a late one to try and stay up for, but maybe we'll catch the first period or so. I don't know. It's going to be a real late one. Let's see. The Kings right now have one of the best records in the Western Conference. They're 22-13-6. They have 50 points. They're second in the Pacific Division. Jim Montgomery sees a really good team that keeps getting better as far as how they create offense. They're really stingy defensively as well. And Todd McClellan is one of the elite coaches in the league, according to Jim Montgomery. These two teams, of course, played a few weeks ago. The Kings winning 3-2 in a shootout with Phoenix Copley in net. He has been stealing starts from Jonathan Quick as of late after Cal Peterson was sent down to the AHL. He's 9-1 actually for the Kings with a .908 save percentage. It's possible that Linus Ullmark will get the start tonight. Actually, it's highly likely after a few days off after the Winter Classic. It would be cool if Jeremy Swayman got the call to give it a full Alaskan-born goalie matchup in net, both Swayman and Copley, born in Alaska. But we all know Swayman's struggling. His save percentage is sub 900, and Linus Ullmark, one of the, if not the best goalie in the league at the moment. The Kings are 7-2-1 over their last 10 games. They have some very talented players to rely on, both young and old, of course. Kevin Fiala, Victor Arvidsson, Philip Deneau, Adrian Kempe, Anze Kopitar, Gabriel Velarde, a great mix of veterans and youth leading the way for them. Of course, they still have Drew Doughty, and also Sean Durzi has been making a big impact for them on the blue line. Over their past 5 games, Philip Deneau leads the way with 3 goals, 6 points. And we know that he is a very talented two-way center, as is Anze Kopitar, and they could make it difficult for the Bruins. So, I wouldn't be surprised coming off the high of the Winter Classic, West Coast road trip, a few days off, the Bruins might have a bit of rust, and this could be one that they drop. But we've said that before, and they always seem to come out swinging and find a way to get it done. So it should be an entertaining one. Those of us who will be able to stay awake should be well worth it. And I'm excited to see what they can do against the Los Angeles Kings here tonight. All right, that's it for today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're looking for something to watch, I think I mentioned it the other day, but Slow Horses on Apple TV. We've watched 3 episodes. So good so far, living up to the hype. I'm trying to read a bit more this year than watching shows. I made a list of the shows I watched in 2022, and it was kind of embarrassingly long. So I'm trying to read a bit more right now, reading a book by a Scottish author called Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart. Pretty harrowing, somewhat disturbing, but it's a really good book if you're looking for a fiction title to read. All right. Hope you enjoy the World Junior action tonight leading into the Bruins game. Tomorrow's podcast will recap tonight, bring you the latest on Jake DeBrusk, and I think we'll have a separate episode talking to JD from the Locked On Sharks podcast to tee up Saturday's game in San Jose. Hope you're all having a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Check out Locked On NHL Prospects next, and we'll talk to you again here tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.